Messi. Messi. Oh my goodness. Balotelli. Aguero. What is extraordinary? What a head, son. What a head.
Back of the net.
This is the Not a Pundit podcast, but you already know that. It's Killian, it's Nathan, it's Connor. You already know that. I sound very excited, but I'm not, because we're going to be discussing Ireland and Stephen Kenny's interim reign coming to an end. No, sorry, John O'Shea's interim reign coming to an end. Gentlemen, how are we feeling?
I mean, like we've been saying in the group chat, it's let's not forget your little slight on John O'Shea. They're calling him Stephen Kenny. I'm sure we'll get to that, but yeah, I think it's mixed emotions. It's disappointing to based off the results we've had. I think we really had the potential to get something out of the Belgium game, but with all the chat around what's going on within the C-suite of the FAI, and a managerial situation that's still unclear, it's not the best old time to be an Ireland fan. What about you, Nate?
It's just Ireland, isn't it? I've learned not to get excited, not to let the emotions go up or down. Yeah, until major things happen at that institution, nothing's going to change, in my opinion.
Well, I think that was one of the interesting things for today, at the time of recording, was there was a big meeting in the FAI HQ where we were led to believe that Jonathan Hill's head could have been on the block, and then that was very, very quickly put to bed that he was going to be staying, and that there could be a little delay on the managerial appointment.
Wouldn't that be convenient?
Yeah, further into April rather than kind of like an early April, but they've never said when in April, just thought it was going to be then. I don't know how Jonathan Hill is still in the position, considering the Oireachtas committee, like that we spoke about before, and like people not being willing to back him. They backed the FAI board, not him. Like they're trying to hire a coach, and one of the things that they're looking for is somebody to base themselves in Dublin or in Ireland, and Jonathan Hill doesn't do it himself. He flies
it sums up the FAI, doesn't it? Like it does.
Even the news of like one or two outlets saying he's going to get the sack, and another outlet coming and saying that no, he's guaranteed to stay, and there's no issues over him. Like, how disjointed are the people inside that they don't know if the head is going to get cut off? Like,
my gut feeling is the reason he's still there is similar to the managerial job. It'd be incredibly hard to find someone to take that job, and then if we're now in a situation where his role is vacant, the managerial role is vacant, Christ, what kind of rudderless ship are we? You know?
Yeah, like it's also going to make trying to find a manager much harder.
100%. Because why, as a manager, would you buy in?
But I think today, when you mentioned Killian earlier about the two reports coming out that are different, I think that suggests that there's clearly a rift in the FAI.
That sides have been chosen.
That suggests that some information is getting leaked out one way and another set of information getting leaked out another way. That's how I'd probably read into it. But yeah, we won't know till the curtain rise or whatever.
I mean, we all know the FAI is about as watertight as a sieve. So Lord knows where those that could be anyone feeding out those rumors. But I think you're right. I do think people want him out, and they're trying to kind of do it in a calculated way.
Yeah, was it leaked because that's what they wanted rather than what they knew? But just looking back on the international break, 0-0 with Belgium, a very credible result. Like, I thought the team were the better of the two. Like, boring game, but they were like, if anybody was going to do it, it would have been us. It was great to see Smodics make his international bow. Says a lot that he finally made it as soon as Kenny got out.
I wonder, whether John O'Shea stays or not. I think he'll be one of those players that he'll always have that kind of, I suppose, credit that he was the one that brought him through, you know?
Yeah, like I think Smollix just fills in a gap that Ireland just constantly needs, or should need to fill. If they would play a formation that would actually go to their players, because like the reason why in the intro I compared him to Stephen Kenny, is because he plays exactly like Stephen Kenny did in both games. It's a 3-5-2 kind of 5-3-2 kind of formation, but it's a 4-4-2 in transition. So as soon as they go attacking, Coleman tucks in and Brady was going higher. So it was that I like a bit of fluidity like that. But it's Stephen Kenny. This
Yeah,
is
well,
a
he's from that
continuation.
school, you know. He was brought up in that system from a coaching perspective. You know, it seems to be he's doing what he knows. And I don't know about you guys, but I think defensively we were relatively strong. Attacking was where we kind of lacked a bit of oomph. But I don't know if that's down to the resources we have or the tactics.
Yeah, I think the promise apart from it was we were defensively sound. I think that's a step forward from Kenny. I do think though that there is a disconnect from defense to attack where I don't know if we have that player that can get the ball to the attack in a timely manner. But I also want to say, what is John O'Shea thinking that the minute he gets the job and has a chance of making any impression, he goes the same route that Kenny goes? It's like a bit of introspect here. Like, come on,
Yeah,
let's have a look and go. If at least we're changing something, it looks a lot better optically.
he was
And
very safe in his player selection as well. He was kind of picking who he knows and who he's used to. You know.
and which is like you have nothing to lose. Like how did we go another international window with Jake O'Brien not making his debut? Like great, we got Sammy Smollix, we got
Yeah,
Finn Aziz. That's fantastic. As they should have been playing already, but we have them now. Let's move on. Jake O'Brien is still not capped.
that's
He is like
crazy.
he is one of League One's top goal scorers. I
But
think he has like
we lack him.
6 or 7 goals for
We lack
Leon.
any imagination within any as far back as you can think with managers. It was always, are you in the Premier League? Okay, if you're not in the Premier League, are you in the Championship? That's about as far as the thinking went.
Mm.
You know, it's never changed, and I think you're right. Like, I mean, the only thing that I will say about John O'Shea being safe is if you are making a play for the full time job, you probably do it safe too. If you absolutely say like insert, I don't know, Gus Poyet or
Mm.
anyone had been selected and he knows he's coming in and he's only got 2 games, then you'd be like, okay, I'm giving everyone a debut. My neighbour's getting a debut. You know, I'm going full ham at this.
I disagree. I think if you're trying to make a name and push for the job, which he seems like he is, you change something up and make an impression.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think if we bet Belgium 1-0, we'd all be here going, oh my God, we'd be going, it's the exact same thing that we saw under Kenny, but we got to go. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? And I do think I found it very encouraging when Jacob Bryan was called up, and I was like, okay, this is a step in the right direction. We're not just looking inward. But then for him to not play, it's like, come on. Like,
Well,
seriously.
especially in it, like I'd understand if it was a non-friendly, like a
Yeah.
competitive game, but Jesus, when we've got a friendly, like, what are we doing? You know?
Plus, like it kind of shows that John O'Shea, the only positivity he brought was it was him, like
Yeah.
because of his playing career. Like for the fans, he gave them nothing to kind of latch onto and kind of go, oh, well, maybe. Like if John O'Shea is the guy that ends up being it, well, that was a clever move to put him as an intro. Like there was none of that. If he gets appointed, it kind of goes, okay, yeah, more of the same, thanks.
Yeah.
Like
One thing
maybe
I
he can
have
push
seen,
on.
and Coleman said it after the game. Rio Ferdinand, I actually think was over in Ireland today.
Yeah.
He was for a north side cross border encouragement. More games and stuff with Sligo Rovers, featuring
Interesting. And
Shane Phelan of Westlife fame.
Ah, both Coleman and Ferdinand were saying though that he obviously is a young manager, but Coleman was like, you know, he works well with the younger players that like, and he's more relatable because he's, I suppose, just a younger guy compared to other international managers that we've had in the past. And I know that's not the most important element of it, but I do think with Ireland, who, let's face it, our team is getting younger and younger. It's important that the manager understands young players.
That's a really, really great thing to hear if he was going to be an assistant manager or a coach.
Yeah,
Yeah, where he's the guy who's in your ear. Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
like
like that's where you have your Gerrard and your Mike Beale.
Yeah.
Whereas like you have Mike Beale for the tactics, but you have Gerrard to actually keep things trucking, keep
Yeah.
players believing. And I just don't think yet O'Shea has that. I think he's like, when you actually look back on his coaching career, he left Sunderland as a player to go to Reading for his final year, and he transitioned into coaching there. Where are Reading now? They're on the borderline of being non-existent.
Yeah.
Then he started helping out with the Ireland underage, and then eventually got called up, and he went to Birmingham under Wayne Rooney.
And went out the door fairly quick. And as
Fairly
you
quickly
said,
went,
he chose to leave, but
which is absolutely fine. But if you look at the coaching pedigree that he's learned from, or the lack thereof, you're closer to pedigree dog food than you are pedigree of championships. No harm to the man. He could absolutely prove us wrong, and there's been many coaches that have come from absolutely nowhere to do amazing stuff. But there's nothing from what I've seen. We have had 2 shots on target at home in 2 friendlies.
that's crazy.
If that happened under Stephen Kenny, you'd be baying for blood.
I'd want his head in a stick.
Nate would already
yeah.
have the crucifix built. You'd be getting the rags of ether ready to get him. Like, I think we just can't get clouded by he had an amazing international career.
And club career.
But like, I'm just being very, very like, if we're gonna pick on biases, international career, that goal in Germany alone, fantastic. Nutmegged Figo. Played for Sunderland. That's
Iconic.
enough for me. Like, I found out recently he was in an episode of The Office in a very, very short still on a computer screen. One of the guys was watching a game of football. Like, there's many, many, many reasons to love John O'Shea. They're not reasons to hire him.
But
Yeah,
do you think, like, if he isn't selected as the kind of permanent manager, do you think he'd be open to being on the coaching ticket, or do you think he's like, okay, I've tried it now, I'll go wherever I can get a job?
I think he's shown his hand to be a head coach. What do you think, Nate?
yeah, I agree. Like just even some of the talk after, he's like, I think I'm ready, and this and that. But I actually beg to differ. I think he's not ready. I think this international break has shown that he's not ready, because we went into an international break where it was like, okay, we're hopeful. We've got an interim manager. Let's see what he can do. And the fact of the matter is, he done nothing. And
Yeah.
I read an article today, and it put everything just into perspective for me. And it goes, to be honest, when you look at this international break, it's a bit of a disaster, because you've one less game. You've got 2 less games on your permanent manager that we're looking for, and you've also tried 0 things to see was there any difference. So it's like we're still at the same spot that we were a month ago.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're not wrong.
6 months ago,
6
realistically.
6 months
Like,
ago.
and when you look at the squad, like, yeah, we did well defensively. Our defense is our strongest position. Like, the only position where we actually have a little bit of a headache is our centre defense.
But I think that's out of necessity. You know, we
No,
have a,
no,
we
I
have
mean-
a good defense
I mean,
because we need it.
Yeah, but we have it though. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Like, when say John O'Shea was playing himself, like, it was for a time him and Richard Dunn, and then after that it was a little bit kind of like,
Yeah, there was
Wait,
one in, one out every week.
yeah, like who's gonna fill in there, and then like don't forget we had Richard Keogh has more caps than I would care to even Google because it would impress me. But like we now have Oma Dembele, Nathan Collins, Dara O'Shea, Jake fucking O'Brien played the man. Like that alone, like it makes me wonder. I would there was a little bit of chatter online and with some of the journos that at first I thought, nah, that's really dumb, but I would really love to see it. One of the issues that we have is that like Josh Cullen can really pass. Very good at that. Really good in transition. Smallbone is a good mover and can pass a ball. That's good, but it's that more advanced. Should we be moving to a 4-3-3 and putting the likes of a Nathan Collins in center defensive midfield in that kind of actual anchor transitional role? Because for club, he's a ball-playing centre-back. We don't necessarily play like that as an international team, so we're not actually using all of his strengths. And we're constantly seeing in international football players being played out of position. We have Trent kind of moving into midfield for England at times. We have David Alaba for decades now playing and attacking midfielder for Austria, while he was a left back for a club and even a centre back now. Like, if we saw something a little bit ballsy like that, it would have been great. But instead,
100%.
You know, I wish we saw that now. Now that we
But
think about it.
my thing is with it though is, uh, do we have the resources to do that? From a defensive perspective, yes, we've four across the back we can do. Midfield, probably. Is Nathan Collins ready for that kind of an important role within that team with the players that we have around him? Because, yeah, he can do great things for his club because he's got better players at his club around him. But where I would worry is that front three. If we have the people to pull that off, it would be nice to see us try it, though.
why don't we have the people?
Oh yeah, I think we do have the people. We have the pace on the wings. We've got Evan Ferguson, who hopefully will rekindle some form and score goals.
Which, actually, just before we even go on further onto the squad, Evan Ferguson is getting a terrible, terrible rap at the minute, both for club and country, where people are really starting to criticise him. And
I don't think he's
it's
criticising. I think it's more
Questioning him.
no. I wouldn't even go as far to say questioning or criticising. I think it's just putting into perspective, because a lot of the talk that's come around it hasn't been sympathetic and like give the lad some time. But I think we're just pointing out that time that he's in right now. You know what I mean?
I think people are judging him by his potential rather than his ability. He's very good and he will be even better, but people are expecting that now, and I think that's an issue. Yes, he exploded onto the scene, as many young strikers do, but I would rather him explode onto the scene and then take 2 or 3 years off and build up to being a consistent striker. Evan Ferguson in the Premier League is I think he's 4 goals shy, or has maybe 4. He's 4 goals either side of Wayne Rooney's record at that same age, but he's played 20 less games.
And if you think if you think that wouldn't have been amplified, that statistic, if he was English and not Irish, the whole world would know.
And when you look at the sides that they're playing in, like Everton when Rooney came through, is comparable to a Brighton now. And then he was in a Ferguson actual like titles in a row Man United's squad. So like, he is very, very, very good. He's going to have off games.
No,
Like,
no, I get that. But we all we all know he's good, yeah. But the part that I kind of lose you in is, if we're judging him now, then you got to argue, should he be starting? Do you know what I mean? Should we
I don't
have
think he should always be starting.
should we have Smartix up front? Like that's the question. So like, it's like a double-edged sword. It's like, do we persevere and just give him time and just ride the Ferguson train, or do we treat him as, listen, lad, step up and you'll get your game?
I think we need to protect him. Like, I think one of the only things that I'll give John O'Shea credit for from this international window was giving Kelleher the starting berth, because I've said for a long time Bazunu needs a break. Take him out of the limelight. He's made a couple of mistakes. Let him get back to just playing good football.
Let him
and
reset.
then bring him back in. I think Ferguson needs the same. I'm absolutely okay with that, especially in friendlies and stuff. Like, if you think, this is an interesting thing to put him up against, or bring him on for 45 minutes or whatever. Like, I think it's not a good sign when your interim international manager is already pinning his hopes on a young lad, hopefully getting a break from the lack of anything that you're going to put him to.
My one comeback on that would be, and I hate being this guy, the commercial element of it.
I agree.
You know, it's bums. He gets bums on seats.
I honestly question whether the FAI could afford to not play him.
That's what I'm. Because you saw how empty the stadium was, you know, and that's with him in that team. And if we give him a break, you know,
like, that's a scary thought when you think of his age, and like, as you said, protecting the players. Like, I wonder, does the FAI, if it came down to it, if they'd have his best interests at heart?
Absolutely not.
But like, the other thing around that is that we need to remember that it's not just him. It needs to be the forward line around him and being able to get the ball to him. But we have good players up front now. Like Smodix, I think is very good. Obviously, he's 27 goals in all competitions for Blackburn. He is very, very good. And the championship isn't like the championship of 10 or 15 years ago. The championship is
That's a tough league. That's
Premier League 2. Like,
yeah.
Og Bennett is playing very well in the Premier League for Luton, but he's still playing very well and is actually very exciting. Mikey Johnson is playing very well for West Brom. Like, we have very good players around Ferguson now.
We do. We just need to figure out how to make them work together.
And the other thing I think people are getting wrong with Ferguson is I think there's this expectation he's going to score every game. Depending on how you play him and depending on how he's kind of nurtured, he might not be. Like, Rooney has always said he's not a striker. He was a forward. He would be that 10 if he needed to, and he could drop deep and whatever. And we've seen it with Kane, that you can have that nice mix. But Kane is a better striker than he is a forward. You're always going to have that kind of... You're going to fall on one side or the other. And we might have Evan Ferguson that's a better creator that will score.
Or a distractor. Like, if we can get people to double team him, to take attention away from a second striker or outfield player, I'll take that all day.
There was a period of time for Ireland that Robbie Keane was very, very good and scored a lot of goals, and I guarantee he wouldn't be able to do that without Kevin Doyle beside him because he was doing the dirty work.
Yeah, he was the donkey. It was the same with Tevez and Rooney.
I just don't think we should be pinning all of our hopes on Ferguson. And another man we shouldn't be pinning all of our hopes on is Roberto Di Matteo, despite the fact he was at the stadium, mate.
Yeah, it's to be honest, I wasn't expecting that when I saw on Sports File last night. I was like,
I felt like that Ian Wright meme. I thought you were dead.
I actually had to look up when the last time he managed was, because I was like, I saw it and I was like, I had to double check. I was like, is that who I think it is?
Is he still contracted somewhere?
I think he's an advisor or was in South Korea.
Is he still making that manager money from like a long-term contract, or he's out?
No, so after Chelsea, he was at Aston Villa and Schalke. Yeah. I'm not sure what way around that was, but there was a massive gap so that he got his bank. But I think he was only on a 3 or 4 year contract, only at £120,000 per week. So he got comfortable.
Oh, he got his money. But what did you guys think? Because I was like, either the FAI have really screwed up here by inviting him over, or it instantly made me go, okay, something's brewing here.
I read it as, we still don't have a manager. We know it's not going to be him. We want the public to think it's going to be him, and we want the public to think that we're actively talking to high-profile managers. I think it was complete, again, smoke and mirrors.
I don't think the FAI are capable enough to think that.
I think they are. The first picture that came out was him and Jonathan Hill together.
Also, what was the little cuddle they were having?
Well, that's what I mean.
What the context around that?
It's like an FAI communications person went, "Oh, Sports File, turn around and take a picture of that real quick." Do you know
we'll give you an exclusive, yeah.
That's what it felt like. I was like, okay, either something brewing here, or this is like a diversion tactic.
I'd absolutely take him though. I know we won't take the job or get the job, but
when I saw it, I thought that's a very off the wall and astute signing. Kind of going, oh, never considered him. That's fun. Let's go with it. Like, there's nothing to lose. Genuinely, with the Ireland situation is now, there is nothing to lose.
Give him 2 years, here we go.
Yeah, and somebody like him has something to prove. He's still young. Like, is he even 50 yet? Like,
I'd be surprised.
Maybe just over it, because he was very young at Chelsea. Like, it would
53.
53, just over it, yeah. But he has a baby face, which is fine. It would be very interesting, very exciting. It'd be a nice form of play. Now, only thing about his form of play was exciting at its time, and I think we kind of forget how long ago that was. But it's setting the FAI up for a loss, because like,
You get people excited. We're not going to get him, and they go, "Why was he there?"
Yeah, but it sets a level as well. And like I
Of
know all,
expectation, like
yeah, because you're not kind of going, okay, well, former like a Champions League winning manager, like he was at Chelsea. He didn't have a great time at Aston Villa, but like he's of Premier League ish standard. Um, then you're linked with the likes of Willie Sagnol and Gus Poyet, arguably the same kind of standard. Suddenly now, if they turn around and put in, I don't know, Brian Barry Murphy, it's going to
it's
go
going to
down like a
sting.
damn
Yeah,
squib.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I just wonder: is the Willie Sag like we're all hanging our hat on Willie Sagnol, but like, I haven't heard a tap from him about it.
Well, it
I,
won't be him.
I want Gus
He got
Poyet now. Like I
Like,
genuinely do. I want Gus Poyet.
for actually for football or for the fun.
No, for like actual football, I think he's the best option right now. And if that's John O'Shea as a coach beside him or something like that, I just think, lads, this is probably the best option at this point.
Could we afford him? You know?
I don't know what we can afford right now.
Well, yeah, Jesus.
I don't think Poyet would bring a massive backroom staff. So I think you'd have him and his absolute hench son, and that'd be kind of it. Maybe an assistant, Maurizio Taricho, who we used to have at
Translator as well.
Can he?
He
I'm
doesn't
sure,
need-
I'm sure he speaks English.
I
speaks
say,
perfect English.
he's there.
Perfect English. Sure, he managed Brighton for years, and then he went to Sunderland.
Do
And
we
he was
think,
supposed
do we
to
think John
perfect
O'Shea
English.
sticks around if he gets it?
I don't think so. I think O'Shea is going to fancy his chances elsewhere. Maybe in Greece, if we got like just do a straight swap.
But like, I don't think there's any good options left. Like, I really don't. Like, Gus Poyet was up there. Greece lost.
He's 13-8 now.
Like, come on, lads. It's either him or I don't know where we're going. We're going down
Well, like,
dark road at that point.
if Poyet doesn't happen and Sagnol doesn't happen, it's John O'Shea. And if John O'Shea says no, I haven't a breeze.
I don't think John O'Shea would say no. I don't think they're going to give him
The option to say no.
the option because he didn't increase attendances. If we're going to go very cynical, like we did, with, like I don't like if he had packed out the Aviva and kind of going, oh wow, this is John O'Shea's first game. Then yeah, I could absolutely see it happen.
I mean, he got a bit shafted in that way that we're never going to pack it out for Switzerland ever.
Plus,
but Belgium though, like
Yeah,
you see the way they're doing tickets now. Like, oh, that did not sit
That
well.
was very dumb.
That did
That
not
was
sit
very
well.
dumb.
Like, Jesus.
even John O'Shea was commenting on it in one of his pressers. He was like, his mates aren't a fan of that ticket buying structure. Like, I don't like it. Like,
Especially when one of them is midweek.
yeah.
Yeah,
You can't expect people to commit to that.
just
And
let
it's
me
also
buy
like
the ticket
I
off.
think if say you price them, what was it was 60 quid or 70 quid for the two games, was
I
it?
think it was
Yeah,
70,
70,
35 apiece.
I genuinely think more people would have turned up if you'd done like a 40 euro ticket and a 20 euro ticket, or you know, a 40 euro and a 30 euro
25, 35.
Yeah, whatever split you want to do.
And you get a 5 or a 10 off if you buy the two when you
Yeah.
buy the midweek one. Like
Yeah,
if you commit to
exactly.
the two,
Yeah.
but then you're going to pay a higher price to go to the like. There just doesn't seem to be any kind of like out of the box thinking. Like it's way too. They're way too dependent on their financials right now. Like it's like they're on the breadline and they're trying to decide
I think
whether.
they are. I think they
But-
are. Like honestly,
Then don't play in the Aviva.
Yeah, well,
Like,
But then what's
genuinely.
the point of the thing, you know?
Well, if you can't afford it, what's the point of it? Because if you're not going to fill it and you're only going to lose money, like then like the rugby can still use it, and we can use it on the bigger games.
I don't
where
think they
we
lose money though. I don't think they lose money off the Aviva. Like
It's
they're
something-
probably
it's
not
something
making
like
a lot,
the-
but I don't think they lose money.
To fully turn the lights on and staff the Avivas, like something like 80k. You know what I mean? So like they're, you know, it's not unholy money, but
No, but I mean, if they're trying to penny pinch, and it's going to be the difference between a manager worth having and somebody that nobody wants, I'd rather see them play in Tallaght Stadium every weekend. Like,
I mean the atmosphere would be good, and you could get a whole good PR from playing
or
League of
what
Ireland.
what they really should do is bring it around the country.
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
Yeah, I do like that. And the French team do that in rugby, and I really like that concept because it brings the game around to everyone.
Look at how well England did off the back of that when they were building New Wembley. Like
Yeah,
they were going around to different stadiums. Like I think there was even a game in St James's Park at
Yeah,
that
the
that
di-
St
the
stadium.
di-
Mary's
the,
as well.
the difference is they have the infrastructure. Like if like say we were
Ireland
to go
has very
in.
good infrastructure. We have like Thomond Park and everything
Yeah, you could go
down.
Thoma Park. You could go out to what's the one in Galway? Pierce, is it? Or
Yeah,
Parky
like
Five or whatever it's called.
well, you'd run into the GA issues there,
Yeah,
which you're always going to run into. But like, be a little bit clever about things. Like, go and try other places. Like in general, I think as a country we're too monolithic when it comes to Dublin. Like, it's Dublin and the rest, and I think for fans that is slowly starting to grate.
Yeah.
Because you're now making a separation between your national team that's meant to represent everybody and making it a Dublin team.
yeah.
I don't know if you saw the news during the week. It was the GA actually seemed to be more open to other sports using their grounds now.
Because they
Uh,
probably need the money.
Yeah, cheap.
the URC semi final final looked like they could be at Crow Park as well, and the semi final quarter final of the European Cup as well. So
I think they feel safer with rugby than they do with football.
yeah, I just like whether it's like a sport in Ireland thing. I just think there needs to be more like dialogue here, where like how do we make the ecosystem for everybody better?
Absolutely. You know,
And that could come all back to having a good CEO,
Yeah.
bringing it back to how the conversation started. But one guy who could be doing better, as far as I'm concerned, is Gareth Southgate. Did either of you get to see anything about their matches from the weekend? Nate, you're probably watching with bated breath for your next manager for you at United.
I'm the opposite. I was like, "Gee, I'm really cutting ties if this guy gets the job. Um, he's just like he's absolute cack, isn't he? Like,
to put it in perspective, lads, when we look at the Brazil game, Gareth Southgate's England have only managed 4 wins in 26 games when they've faced teams in the top 10 FIFA rankings. Going into a major tournament year, that is fairly worrying for an England fan.
that's
Oh,
crazy.
buddy, we got him to the final of the Euros ages ago.
He's been handed like the easiest career in football management ever. Like, I genuinely
Failed
think so.
upwards. Genuinely, he is the definition of failing
He's been
upwards.
there for
Like,
11 years.
it's ridiculous. And like, don't forget when he was a club manager, he spent nearly 20 million on Afonso Alves from Heerenveen from Middlesbrough and got them relegated.
Back when 20 million may
Was
as well have
20
been
million.
like 80 million now.
Yeah, like I think maybe the year after, I think Berbatov went for what was it, 30.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And look what Berbatov did. Like
what a player.
he is so, everything about him is so safe. It actually irritates me. Him talking about the flag controversy. He says nothing about anything. Like it actually grates on me how popular he is in the UK.
Because he's
It's all-
he's well polished from a political standpoint. Like he is everything if you're the FA that you would want in a manager from a comms point of view.
yeah, but I think we need to make the Brits bitter again. Let's just play him missing that penalty on repeat for a couple of weeks across Sky News and BBC, and let's just remind them of who this lad is. Like genuinely.
I think it's safe to say we won't get an interview out of Southgate anytime soon.
Like, lads, would we be surprised if we saw him as Prime Minister one day? Like, I genuinely wouldn't. He's that safe. Like, that middle of the road, like, it's like, just, like, have a bit of personality. Like, where's personality gone?
I actually couldn't imagine him as prime minister because being prime minister would make you decide on a party.
No, but
And I don't think he could do that.
Well, he'd be so good at peddling what he's told to peddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he'd toe the party line like no one ever before.
Like it's Jenny on another level, and I'm like, fair, at one point I'm like, fair play, like you absolutely scammed the system, but like at another point it's like, Jesus, someone get this fella out, like.
Well, it's either yourselves or Liverpool if Glenn Johnson has anything to do with it.
Keep him as far. No,
The only thing Glenn Johnson should ever have to do with football is just watching that the Portsmouth goal that he had, where he just absolutely thunder bastard it on the volley. That's the only reason that man should ever be talking about anything. It's just wheel him out every 6 months, kind of go, yeah,
That was some
I
goal.
scored that goal.
There is definitely a pod, by the way, in the top 10 Thunder Bastards of all time, because I mean there are some absolute worldies out there.
Coming soon.
Oh,
Michael
Giovanni
Ballack comes to head. Alex comes to the mind.
Giovanni van Bronckhorst at the Euros.
Yeah, another
2008.
absolute wellier.
Manor Figueroa from his own half for Wigan. But with England, I have to say, as a team, I'm not impressed by them. Like, they are being lauded by themselves, really, to be kind of challengers at kind of major competitions. And I find it amusing that the parts of the team that they worry about are the parts of the team they actually don't have to worry about. Like, they're always whinging about Pickford. That terrible mistake in the Belgium game, which is only a friendly, was the first time he made a mistake in an English shirt that led to a goal.
Yeah,
The press wouldn't make you believe that, though, or not even the press. Sorry, social media wouldn't.
No, like, England are in a better goalkeeping situation now, even with the backups, than they were with Paul Robinson, David James, Robert Green, Ben Forster, that whole era.
Yeah.
And there was never a question mark about who the goalkeepers were. They're in a much stronger position now, whereas they need to be worried about the kind of the rest of it, really.
Well,
like,
it's more the cohesion they need to worry about. Like let's face it. Like, we'll come on to Mainu shortly. I'd imagine, or else Nath will probably explode. But the resources they have at their disposal are phenomenal. Like it's a team that could win like on paper, that's a Football Manager World Cup winning team, absolutely. But like every other era of England, they can just never figure it out. They'd almost be better, in my opinion, if they'd like 5 lads or 4 lads that were absolute worldies, and the rest of them were just kind of like, middle of the road donkey workers. Because then there's less kind of room for 11 egos and all of that. If there's limited egos and limited skill,
if
it
they had
brings everyone
2 star
across.
players, they'd be better off.
But lads,
Like,
the answer's right there in front of you. Is like, it is Gareth Southgate that's the issue. Like, going back to the goalkeeper, it's like the reason Pickford looks good in an England shirt is because they play horrible football. They play football that is, in my opinion, you'd see it in Everton, where if you got a world class manager who had a style to play, Pickford would look very average. He wouldn't be the ball playing goalkeeper that you need at that point. But then the other players, in my opinion, would look better because they're playing the style of football that they do week in, week out.
having had Pickford at my club, Pickford is a very good goalkeeper for teams that are constantly facing shots where there's
But
something gone
that's
wrong.
my point.
Last ditch. So you're 100% right there. Like, I think one of Southgate's biggest faults is the English call it loyalty. I think it's
Stupidity.
either a fear or a lack of ingenuity is the kind of like how Harry Maguire keeps playing under him, how he keeps just Jordan Henderson is still playing for England. Like,
Because
he went to Saudi, he was still playing for England. He's in Ajax, he's still playing for England.
Only thing I'll say about that is every single former player you hear talk about Henderson says he's like a coach on the pitch.
yeah, but I couldn't give a
No,
rat's.
but that's not the point. This is a friendly. This is where you're meant to be getting your next
Yeah,
generation
fair.
through, and
Yeah.
this is where Kobe Manu comes in. That was the right thing to do, but he seemed to be the only bright spark of the team. He's the only one that was like, "Hey, do you know what? I have nothing to lose. Let's try stuff."
But that's
Let's
the
go
best.
for it."
That's the best space to be in. Like I remember hearing Gary Lineker and I can't remember if it was Six Football or the Rest is Football, one of them, and they were saying, he has to just go in there and absolutely just enjoy the moment and ball out. And ball out is what he did. Good God.
Oh, he's
Nathan, the floor is yours. Kobe Manu, go on, anoint him Pope or whatever you want to do.
unbelievable. 18 years of age, man the match on his international full debut. It's like I've what a player. Like, I've never seen a player play with his head up to such a degree in my life, and let alone that he's 18 years old. Just quickly going back to the Gareth Southgate thing, just the last thing is, what did you make of him giving Kobe Manu the debut? Because is it a bit of him trying to get goodwill before a major tournament, or is it like I sort of was like, because I wouldn't have expected him to do it. I was a bit like, why? What's his ultimate motive
What's
to
the
do?
agenda? Yeah.
It was the correct thing to do, and I think he did it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I think you got it spot on there. Like I think there was no doubt that he was going to play for England, you know. But look, I think the clip of him that you said us on, Nate, we'll put up on socials. Like you said about, you know, we said before the pod, who would we compare him to that plays with their head up? But and you know you've names like Xavi and Scholes, and we don't want to anoint them into that level yet. But when you see this clip of, I know it's a highlight reel, and everyone can look amazing on a highlight reel, but there's about 2.5 minutes where his head's just, I don't even know how he knows where his feet is. It's like he doesn't look at his feet,
Yeah,
and he just gets his delivery is outrageous. His like. Technique is calm while he's calm when he's on the ball, and like you said, now for 18, it's terrifying. And to, 5 years time, what's he going to look like?
it's like a sixth sense, really. I wouldn't even know where my feet were if I was looking up straight. You know what I
But
mean?
like it's almost like when you watch him, it's like he just floats. He
Yeah,
just like levitates around the place. Like he's silky smooth.
and I think Gareth Southgate is messed up because I think he's created a problem now. He's got to take Kobe Manu to the Euros, and I guarantee that's not what he wants to do.
Yeah,
Um,
Just to put things in context, though, do you think he's Camavinga or Chouameni level?
I think he's better. I genuinely do. I
I
think
think he's got the potential to be better. I
I
think now
uh,
is he better? No.
I I'm I'm
I could
obviously
see him becoming
biased.
a new Rashford, where it's
No,
that kind
come
of
on,
like,
kidding.
no,
You're batting him down before it even starts.
no, and I hope this doesn't happen to him. But just it's Man United, and this is what Man United has seemed to do over the last little while, is where they end up relying on somebody that they shouldn't rely on yet. Like, let him have fun. Like, let him play under no pressure. And instead, like they did with Rashford, they put all the world's woes on him. And Rashford, I don't. He Rashford plays older than he is, and I don't mean that in a good way.
Oh, great.
And I think Manu would do well if they had a manager that took attention away from the team. Yeah, if you know what I mean. Like right now, give him a year or two of just where people are kind of going, "Oh, fair play, Kobe Manu," but now Mourinho, and we're like, I don't think Mourinho has that skill to kind of actually harness a player in that kind of way, but having that ability to distract, like I think Van Gaal did decent with that with United. There was a lot of players coming through, like Fosu Mensah, and like was able to kind of take away at the
Yeah.
beginning until everything went wrong. Take away some of the kind of like pressure that Rashford then ended up having to endure, and Rashford is always going to be a bit of a what if
I
because like
I
he's now been
agree,
relegated to basically a left winger.
but like I obviously still think Rashford's good. Like he's
Oh,
not.
very very good,
He's
but
not at
he's
the
not what he
level
could have been.
that what I thought he would be. But I'd go as far to say that I think Maine is a bigger talent than Rashford was at that age. Like
Where do you think he lands on the of the Man United youngsters of the last, I don't know, call it 20 years?
I
Where do you
think
think?
I think one of the very best. Like I genuinely like I've been hearing about this kid since he was 15 coming to the academy. People have been raving about this guy. So,
Well,
like
we heard about Jadon Sancho at 15 in the
yeah,
City Academy.
I
but,
think you're being negative, Nancy, on this one.
but,
I think I agree with you, Killian. I think it could go either way. It absolutely could be a Rashford situation. I do also agree with Nate in the fact that I think he's got more talent than Rashford. He just needs the right people around him from both a, when I say management perspective, I mean both personal management from his agents and his family and I suppose anyone who he hangs out with from a club level as well. And I think you're right. He also needs the right manager in a club perspective that will take that pressure off him.
just to put into perspective, this kid was playing under 18 football at 15 in midfield.
That's for
To,
United.
to see where he is now playing at the level that he's now at 18, you can see how highly he was thought of to move up the age gaps that quick. I know we've seen him before, but I'd be a lot more on the fence of comparing him to a Jude Bellingham at 17, 18 than a Rashford. Like, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, like and see, I think if we look back at Jude, like don't forget everybody laughed at Jude Bellingham, like when Birmingham retired his number and kind of went, "Oh,
I
really?"
still think that's outrageous, but we move.
I,
Yeah,
I,
but the move to Dortmund was kind of a bit like, "Oh, really? Okay, that's cool. That's interesting." Like I would love Kobe Minu to make it to the absolute fullest of his potential, but like Ethan Ampadu was playing the men's game at 15. Martin Odegaard made his debut for the international football at 15, and he didn't hit until he was
no,
22.
yeah.
So like, I just don't want to like rush into a point to what he might just not be.
Yeah,
He
I
could have
agree.
all the talent for, and like the reason is because I actually went back and I read an article very recently, looking at Michael Johnson. Do you remember at Man City?
Yeah.
Pre-takeover, like he genuinely had the skill to be a top Premier League midfielder. Not saying he was gonna be like taking over the world. He wasn't Lampard 2.0, but he would have been a very, very good Premier League midfielder. And
Am I right in saying the drink got him, or was that Michael Ball?
Michael Ball more so.
Yeah.
He did have a drink problem, but that was more because he mentally couldn't handle it.
Okay.
And he was retired by the time he was 23, 24, 25, in around that, after being injured for years, because basically he was kind of slightly rushed back. So even sticking with City, look at Stephen Ireland. Stephen Ireland was a top
Yeah, but
quality
He's
Premier
a
League.
he was an
I
unbelievable player, but he was a fruitcake. I think him and Mainu were different
like,
gravies.
and I think the thing that sticks out to me for Manu, and I understand like he could get an injury tomorrow, like, but I think his technical ability, I've struggled to see that in a lot of players in the last God knows how long. Like, I genuinely think he's up there, and coupled with what I've heard of him, he has a great attitude, very down to earth, has his head switched on for his age. It's like the world's his oyster right now if he wants it, because he's got the talent in buckets and spades. You know what I mean? So it's up to him now to go and do it. But I'd put my money on him to do it.
I will say as well, Nathan, I know you'll be in agreement with this, but we see young players like, your Bukayo Saka's and, Evan Ferguson's and insert five other names. And, it's exciting to see them come through, but it's been a long time since I've been this excited about someone. And look, I'll be honest, I haven't seen too many games of him, but from what I've seen, I'm really excited by what's next in his career.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him for sure.
100%.
The other player that I thought youngster wise that came out of the international window from the England games that it's just it seems he's arrived is Endrick, which if you
Yeah,
play Football Manager you don't need to know anything, like we don't need to tell you about him, but like
The streets will never forget.
he's so good.
he's
He is
always
very, very good.
he's always seemed like a bit of a myth, hasn't he? It's like
Yeah,
we've known he's existed. We've like Real Madrid spent all this money. We know about Football Manager, but we're always just thinking, is this guy as good as we think he is?
Kaiser Sose.
Yeah, it's like we keep getting told all this, but is he actually that good? And to be fair to him, he looks spot on.
like he's another one that like I'm not that I want players like that to be going to Real Madrid all the time, but I'm nearly glad that he's going to this Real Madrid where the likes of Vinny Jr. was the same.
Yeah,
Like it was the exact same thing, just like transplanted again, and at least he has somebody like that to take him under his wing, because Vinny has made it work, despite all of the challenges that he's faced and the issues that he's now facing with kind of sticking with Spanish football. But like Endrick, I have the same concern as I do with Kobe Manu, is because like how many like Brazilian players have we seen come in, take over the world, and just fall off before their time?
And
Look at
I completely agree with that. And I would say historically, it's more likely Endrick would fall off than Mainu. I hope neither of them do. But one thing that Endrick going to Madrid, I think you're completely right. Perfect place for him. But when you look at what that team could be,
yeah, that's
Endrick,
crazy.
Vinny, Bellingham, Mbappe, Trent has been talked about in come 2025.
Camavinga,
Like
Tchouaméni.
it's frightening.
It's
Yeah.
like I don't know how they've got away with that. Like,
FFP, how you doing? Like keep
like
it moving.
they've gone like, okay, we might give up a bit of performance here, but we're going to stack up for the future. And they have. But going back to Hendrick, I'll say, like, from what I've seen now, I've seen very little of him. But the way, like, his swagger with it at his age and how he looks on the pitch, it's like, there's just some players where you just see them and you go, you're a bit different, you know what I mean? Like,
It's like there's an aura around them.
yeah. I like, and I don't know if that's a preconceived aura that gets made up from all the hype and stuff. But I know we talk about loads of other players that have fallen off, but there's just some players that you just go like, okay,
100%.
you're just gonna be a world beater.
But it's not even like, when you're a kid, it's different. Like I remember seeing Ronaldinho when Ireland played Brazil, and I would swear to this day that there was a glow around him, and like, yeah, that's just you being a kid. But like, you're completely right. Like, now as grown ups, if I dare call us that, forever children, more like. But there definitely is. There's something that's not quantifiable or tangible about people like him.
Yeah, I don't know what to
He
say.
has that air of like it's easy for him, and not in an arrogant way.
Like a Messi, like you're born to do this.
I wouldn't go that far. I'd kind of look more like when Neymar was coming through with Santos. It was kind of like that, but with Neymar, he had a swagger and all, but it was arrogance. It
Yeah.
was that kind of like I'm better than
They
you.
know
I'm
how
just
good
going to
they
take
are, though.
this.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think Endrick, I think part of the reason for that, I think it's kind of one of the things that English football could be a little bit better at is like Endrick's I think been playing the men's game since he was 15, and then the way the Brazilian leagues are structured, you kind of have like a summer and like there's different levels to like they have your main part of the season, and then there's like an off-season league and all this kind of stuff, where you're playing in like the Sao Paulo divisions, and then like there's a
It's a
lot of
wider
games to be
system than
played.
the English game.
Yeah, and allows these young lads to be kind of coming in a better way in the sense that they're getting pressure without pressure. They're not friendlies where you can kind of do whatever you want, but they're fighting for a place without kind of like I'm not going to be in a relative sense, considering how passionate the Brazilian game is. I'm not going to be lambasted for not working out. And I think that's only going to stand to a player like Endrick now. Like he's what 17? Is he 18 yet?
Without sounding like
Um,
the resident out bastard, like players just keep getting younger and younger and younger. Like if he's where he's at 17, Mainu's he's at 18. Like there's a 15-year-old coming somewhere, you know.
well, we've seen the 15-year-olds come through, and they rarely work out at 15. That's the
Yeah.
only thing. So I think in that sense we can kind of still grasp on the kind of going we're not too much older than the good players. It's more scary when you see 2006
Yeah.
born kids being 18.
Heavy breathing ensues, yeah.
Yeah. No, but like these young guys, and again sticking with the international window, with Fernando Paez, who Chelsea bought
Oh
from
yeah.
South America, being caught up with the whole team going out and partying and stuff, and then were they sent home, or they were definitely pulled in by the FA and stuff. Like we need to even despite all of the control that the press and comms have nowadays, these players still need to be protected, and I think um, there is a merit in the old school mentorship kind of apprenticeship kind of way of doing things, kind of going like, yeah, absolutely, you're playing the game, but you're still gonna clean the boots because you
Yeah, but I
still need
also, and in
to.
addition to that, though, I do think that's very important. But I also think that we're very quick to scald players for going on nights out and being real people. At the end of the day, they're young lads, and yes, I know their job as a professional athlete and comes with that a lot of expectation. But they're also human beings at the end of the day, and I think there needs to be a little bit more room given for them to be human and not just you know robots who play football and go back to their base for the day.
Yeah, no, like I agree. I think looking outside of Ireland, football is very, very exciting for the future.
Yeah, it must be nice having all these youngsters.
um, but gents, I think that brings us to the end for this week. Uh, who do we think we'll have a manager by the next episode?
No, not a chance. I don't think we'll have a manager by another 4 episodes from now.
What do you think, Nate?
No, definitely not. And they'll be saying, "Oh, we've got someone, but it'll be in May."
We'll have a press conference in June.
Oh,
Waiting for
stupid.
Godot in the FAI. There you go. A little bit of culture for you. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Been a
We'll chat
pleasure.
to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Messi. Messi. Oh my goodness. Balotelli. Aguero. That is extraordinary. What a headshot. What a head.
Back of the net.